I'm fat, I'm naked, the crickets are chirping, and today we're going to start this up here with a genuine shot of Wild Turkey 101. Guess what we're talking about? I've actually never had Wild Turkey 101 straight before, so it's a new experience, and I do believe... you're seeing... What are you seeing? You're seeing a box that I just ripped. So I'm not cutting this out. I'm going to put this box somewhere so you can see it. It is a box of paperwork. And that's a file storage box. Very appropriate. So, there's a tablecloth. I can put that down there. Anyway, this is obviously a naked blog, and we are obviously talking about alcohol. 101 is leaving a burning feeling in the back of my throat, and it's actually kind of good. I've never had it straight up before. This is my first time having it straight up, and I'm going to say, definitely a different physiological feeling. 101 refers to the proof. It's very strong alcohol. Anyway, but I digress. So here's the thing, is that Tricia Hirschberger went out there and decided she wanted to talk about alcohol, and I believe the question was, what are your thoughts on alcohol, or what age do you think drinking should be legal? Let me first give you some background here. Now, when I was conceived, my father was doing a lot of drinking. We know this because I was born with very unique opiate receptors. Opiate receptors that do not respond strongly to alcohol, meaning that I have an extremely high tolerance. I can drink a lot without getting drunk. This is also coupled with the fact that I am very large, so I again can drink a lot without getting drunk. That's the first thing you need to understand. Now, how do I know that my parents did a lot of, my father did a lot of drinking? Well, because I was told this. But apparently he did a lot of drinking because my parents were fighting. And this definitely changed me as a person. Never fight around infants, never fight around pregnant women. So, automatically I have a certain negative perception of alcohol. I associate it with my father. My father was abusive. I dislike alcohol for that reason. Why do I then have Wild Turkey 101? That's a good question. Get to that later. Then we have another very simple fact of my life. I'm going to tell you this. My mother was Jewish. This is not a practice that I was living through, but it is legal for a parent to give a child alcohol because of the sacrament of Jews. And it's one of those things. You cannot make someone's religion illegal. You can give someone alcohol if they're your child. If they're in your supervision, it is perfectly fine to give your child alcohol so long as you're not harming them in any way. So that's one of those things. So it's little wine, fine. 62 beers, maybe not. So there's that thing. And that's why I believe the charge is not giving a child alcohol. It would be contributing to delinquency, which is anything that would cause delinquency. Now, I will say that my paternal grandmother was a very frail child, and she said that when she was growing up, at every meal she drank a small cup of wine. And she is in her late 90s now, and still going pretty strong last I heard. I don't get along with my family, but she maintained excellent health very late in life. So there's that to understand. So that's one thing. I do understand the nature of alcohol, as it may be beneficial, as it may help the body and be a heartening agent to strengthen you and, keep you in rough times. So let's be clear on that. Now, the third thing I have to get into about alcohol is that my 21st birthday, I was a designated driver. I went with my brother and my father. My brother wasn't driving, and my father was recovering from an operation. Yeah, I have never ordered a drink at a restaurant. No alcohol at restaurants, ever. I drink almost every day. Maybe I'll have one beer or I'll have some hard cider or something. I don't think there's anything wrong with a little drink every now and again, but I do drink in moderation, and I'm not terribly religious, but I will make the statement: the Jewish religion prohibits drunkenness. So it's fine to do some drinking. It's not fine to get drunk. It's not fine to lose control of yourself. That is what I was taught in school, in temple. That's what I lived with, and that's what I live by. Not because I'm religious, but because I believe in it. I'm that kind of a person. So I'm going to make that clear. And then finally, the thing you have to really understand about me: I work with the homeless, and many of them abuse alcohol. And it's like, look, I once had somebody urinate on my desk because they were drunk. And I had somebody vomit all over the area I work in because they were drunk. And, I've had people come in and do all kinds of strange things because of drunkenness. I've watched people destroy their lives with alcohol. So you have to take this into consideration. I have seen all the bad things. I have seen the worst part of this particular substance. Take that into consideration when you hear my words. Now, again, why is it that somebody is old enough to join the military, but they're not old enough to buy a beer? Well, for the first thing is, we need young people for the military. And there are more 21-year-olds with children, with families who are established in life, who cannot now leave for the military because they got business going on, than there are 18-year-olds who cannot leave for the military, who now can leave for the military because, they don't have that business. That's generally why you take it at 18. When you're 18, you're out of school. It's time for you to make a life decision where you like it or not. And that life decision is not alcohol, because at that point your brain is not properly developed. So if you go on a major bender at 18, you are far more likely to do major damage to your brain than at 21. Also, not all 18-year-olds have graduated from high school. So if you really love alcohol and now you have access to alcohol, well, you just might not graduate because of your heavy drinking habits. There are already people who don't graduate because of heavy drinking habits. So we don't want to encourage them. That's one of those things. You have to understand that as a basic point. We've set this at 21 because it's functional. Do also remember that there are cultures where drinking is not a big thing, but people are much less likely to become major drunks. So part of it is that one would hope that the parents, by the time somebody turns 21, the parents have instilled in them enough, they've become wise enough, and now they are under a certain level of control. They can control themselves. They have internalized their locus of control. And they can now say, yes, okay, I'm going to get drunk on Friday night, but I'm not going to get drunk on Tuesday night because I have work the next morning. That's one of those things we kind of hope with the idea of alcohol. It's kind of a funny point. I mean, really, your brain stops developing, almost everyone's brain stops developing at 24. But we're not raising the drinking age to 24 because it's just, at that point, it's just too difficult to regulate. I think that there are a lot of 24-year-olds who are just going to get away with it. And whereas, you wouldn't encourage heavy drinking at any age, 21, it's a number. It's not a great number, but it's not a terrible number. And it's one of those things. I will also admit that because the bulk of recruits for the military are 18-year-olds, it's harder for that 18-year-old to, just out of boot camp, go out there, get himself horribly, horribly drunk, and then go shoot somebody. So a 21-year-old, because their brain is far more developed, is much, much less likely to get roaring drunk and go shoot somebody as there is an 18-year-old. So if we lowered the drinking age to 18, we would probably do major damage to the United States military. And I don't know if you've noticed lately, that military is having some trouble. I mean, come on, come on. Everybody getting out of the military, they're already crazy. Personally, I think a lot of them go in there crazy because they're getting out of something horrible. But that's what you said. I mean, it's like, look, you go to the military, you got to realize I'm going to get dead. Nobody wants to get dead. It's one of those things. So there it is, and it isn't, I guess. Now, again, I'm going to make the point. I enjoy fine drink. I'm not a wine snob by any means. I only drink Charles Shaw, which is one of the cheapest wines you can purchase. I do drink a number of different hard ciders. I've got a number of beers and ciders right now that are for the holiday season. I'm going to be putting reviews up for those on my review site in October. I want to get to the point where I review a new alcohol every Friday, which isn't too hard during this time of the year because everybody's coming out with new stuff every Friday. And in fact, this month, I reviewed 9 beers, maybe more. May have also reviewed the Wild Turkey, I don't know, but definitely reviewed at least 9 beers because I bought 2 9-packages of sampler beers. My brother and I sat down and had tried those beers together, and we discussed it together and talked about what these beers were like for each of us. And that's one of those things. I think alcohol is fine, so long as enjoyed in moderation and, enjoyed responsibly. That's it. I think this is kind of a short one, which I guess is good for you guys. It's good for me because, again, it is terribly, terribly hot in here. I am melting into a puddle, and I've got to go. So, peace, Auf Wiedersehen, live long and prosper.